I want to talk about salt water. Salt water is one of our no-nos. Most people know that they aren't supposed to drink salt water, especially in a survival situation. And I want to talk about why, what happens when we actually drink salt water. In order to understand why, you have to actually get right down and look at the cell that's in the body. And each cell that's in the body has this membrane that's around it. And there are some things that can go through the membrane real easy, like water. Water can go through, go into the cell and come back out of the cell real easy. Other things like salt cannot go through that easy. It can get through, but it takes a bit and a lot of work for it to get through. So what happens is when you actually drink salt water is when you drink it, the bloodstream gets loaded up with salt. And the cell has this idea that on the inside of the cell and on the outside into the bloodstream, they have to be equal. That's the thing, it has this idea it has to be. And so when the salt in the bloodstream goes up and the salt in the cell does not go up, then what the cell tries to do is it'll actually kick the water that's in it out into the bloodstream in order to dilute the salt that's out there, trying to make everything even. And so basically what you've just done is you've just dehydrated the cell. And there are studies have been done where they've checked the water that they've drank, and then they checked what has come back out, and they've actually urinated out more than what they actually drank. There's been several studies that have done that. So drinking salt water ends up dehydrating you in the end, because the actual cell wants to keep the salt in the bloodstream and the salt in itself even Steven. And so it'll actually kick the water out that's in the cell rather than trying to take water in. So you can't hydrate yourself by drinking salt water. It's one of our water no-nos. So salt water is not a good thing. So keep that in mind. Everybody knows that we can't drink salt water. I live in Michigan. This is actually Lake Michigan, but it's big enough to illustrate the sea. And so what do you do if you're finding yourself on the seashore and you're thirsty and you need water, and you can't evaporate this water and then recollect it? You don't have a way to do that. What do you do? Well, we've just been talking about gypsy wells. And a lot of times you go out there by the shoreline, that shore sand has been there long enough that it has collected up enough salt that it is salty too. And so what you have to do is come back. Sometimes you have to go over the next dune, go down to the bottom. And when you come back into this direction and go ahead and dig a gypsy well back here, and you keep coming back and digging until you finally get water that doesn't taste the salt anymore. When you can't taste the salt, then you're probably pretty good to go there. So this is what you do if you're on the shore of a sea or of a body of water that's salt water. And you just make your way back a ways. Go ahead and dig a gypsy well. You'll notice out here that we got some dips over there to get pretty low. And so what you'd end up doing is going over there, go ahead and dig in a well, and Mother Nature there will filter out the salt just like she does all the other stuff. And she's pretty good at that stuff. So right at the shoreline, you probably wouldn't get away with it because it's been there for too many years, and that sand has already got salt in it. But sand back here is going to be good sand. It's not going to be full of salt. So come back away sometimes over the first sand dune, or even another one if you can find a low area that you don't have to dig too far to get to the water table, and you'll be good to go. Make a gypsy well there, and again, protect it, because the animals and stuff, if they find it, they'll use it and they'll say, well, thank you much, and then it'll be contaminated and you'll have to go find another spot. So keep that in mind, and this works for saltwater.